How do I meet my soulmate? How do I move on from heartbreak? Does my dream relationship even exist? Are dating apps the only way I can meet people? Are all relationships this hard? This is Between the Sheets with Dr. Love. Each week, your host dives into sex, love, dating, relationships, and everything in between. Welcome to Between the Sheets with Dr. Love.
Hey, everyone. It's me, Dr. Love, and welcome to another episode of Between the Sheets with me, Dr. Love. Today, we are talking about hard conversations and why avoiding them doesn't protect a relationship, it actually poisons them. There's a myth that we need to gently but firmly put to rest, that avoiding hard conversations preserves a relationship. I'm not even sure where that has come from, but let me educate you. It doesn't. It slowly poisons them because what we don't say doesn't disappear. It stays. It sits in the body and it leaks out sideways. It shows up as distance, resentment, irritation, numbness, and silence. Basically, when we leave things unsaid, it doesn't keep peace. It actually erodes the intimacy. It's really the cost of what goes unsaid. And every relationship has to have hard conversations. They're always waiting to happen. They can be conversations around your needs, your expectations, about some hurts that you've experienced in the relationship, some of your boundaries, maybe sex, money, time, effort, the emotional availability of your partner. And when those conversations don't happen, something subtle begins to happen. You start editing yourself. You stop saying what you feel and you start to actually lower your expectations. So instead of expressing them, you're containing them. You start to convince yourself it's just not worth bringing up and the silence is real. But here's the truth. A relationship without hard conversations isn't peaceful. It's just disconnected. And disconnection is far more dangerous than discomfort. What most people get wrong is that unfiltered truth is not an attack. It's a form of connection. They think honesty is aggression. They think the truth equals conflict. They think speaking up will break relationships. But unfiltered truth, when offered without an attack, is intimacy. What it says is, I trust you with my inner world. I'm willing to be seen. I want us to be real. I trust that you can hold this space while I am being vulnerable and honest. Hard conversations aren't about hurting each other. They're about meeting each other. You might not like what you hear. You might not even feel comfortable. You might feel confronted or even exposed. But that discomfort is where growth lives. There are no secrets in a truly intimate relationship, only courage. And the hardest thing to do sometimes is to sit in a conversation where your triggers and your mind are wanting to run and scream away. And for you to be able to quiet those things down for the needs of your partner and your relationship. For a greater need of connection. Intimacy is far greater than relief of the hard conversation or relief of the triggers or the mindset. Hard conversations don't sound like yelling. They don't have to sound like yelling. They can sound like this. I'm scared to say this, but I need to. This is vulnerable for me. I don't want to fight. I want to understand. I've been holding this in and it's creating distance between us. You might feel shaky, vulnerable, uncomfortable, but it could give you some grounding and relief as well. Your nervous system at this point is stretching. You don't want to cause this explosion. And yes, your inner voice might be coming up with a narrative that doesn't serve you. Your chest might feel a little tight. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing something real. You're actually in your feels. So you might not be amazing at this. You might be just starting out and still practicing. But it doesn't matter how many times you have had hard conversations in the past. It doesn't get any easier for you. You just get better at sitting through it, sitting in it, being able to regulate while you're having the hard conversation. Some of you might not even know how to start them. You say, Dr. Love, how do you start a hard conversation? It could sound like this. I want to talk about something that's important. I'm not here to attack you. I'm here because I really care about us. When you have these conversations, you need to name the intention first. So you've got to create safety before you deliver the substance or the reason why you want the conversation. Then I want you to speak from experience rather than accusation. It's I feel or what I've noticed or I'm struggling with, rather than you turning around and saying, you always, you never, you make me. Hard conversations are about sharing the impact on you, not assigning the blame. Blame is when you are more likely to get defensive, and the avoidant will become snarky in their behavior and check out. Now, a hard conversation may not end with a perfect resolution. That's okay. But it does need honesty, listening, accountability, and emotional presence. At the end of that conversation, it may end with something like this: thanks for hearing me out. I just need time to process this. Let's come back to this once I've done that. So completion doesn't necessarily mean there's an agreement. It's just an understanding. But then when you have understood, action must follow. So if your partner sits in avoidance, it is going to poison the relationship, because avoidance feels safer in the moment, but it creates a long-term damage. When you avoid the hard conversation, expect to feel resentment builds. Assumptions start to grow. You start to think things. Oh, they don't care. I knew they didn't love me enough, or they're not motivated enough. They're not in this. You create emotional distance. It widens. Attraction starts to fade. Intimacy shuts down. You don't stay close by avoiding the truth. You stay close by telling it. And this is something I often recommend to my clients. I call it the letter exercise, and it's pretty powerful. It's when each of you writes a letter and there is no attack or no accusations, but you answer this question: what am I afraid to say to you? And I want you to write everything down, unfiltered, honest, and messy. And then when you're finished, I want you to exchange the letters. And I want you to read them without interrupting your partner, without defending, without fixing, without defining, without anything. I just want you to listen. And for many people, this is the first time they've ever received or given unfiltered truth in a relationship. And strangely, it's actually not destructive. It's relieving. It carries comfort and clarity. Because truth, when held with care, creates safety, not fear. Obviously, you and your partner need to have some level of intelligence to do this, some emotional safety in the relationship for this to be effective. So if your partner is not the type of partner that can have hard conversations, it could be due to a few things. One of them could be their attachment style. Avoidant partners have learned early that vulnerability wasn't safe. They shut down to self-protect. The other thing is their level of emotional intelligence. So low emotional intelligence may mean that they lack the language or the skill to sit in this discomfort. That can be learned, but it can take quite some time and lots of motivation. The third thing is the lack of motivation for the relationship. Hard conversations require effort, and if someone isn't invested, they won't lean in. And the fourth thing is emotional laziness. Avoidance becomes a habit, and silence becomes easier than growth. This is the hard truth. If someone can't talk about the hard things, they can't build something deep. Depth requires discomfort, and intimacy requires courage. If this is your partner, you cannot do the letter exercise. It isn't going to be helpful and maybe more harmful. So if you're not sure if this is the right thing for you or if you should do the letter exercise, drop me a line on Instagram and just give me a bit of a scenario so I can give you some feedback. The other thing here is that if your partner can't have the conversations that you need and you feel like you're always the one bringing things up, that is market research. That's information about your relationship. I want you to ask yourself, if that feels like you, am I carrying the emotional labor alone? Is my partner willing to meet me here? Do they engage or just endure the relationship? Because if you are the only one willing to have the hard conversations, it creates an imbalance and eventually burnout. Then you wonder why you can't get up for work in the morning, you're struggling, or your body is so heavy and so tired. That is the burnout of carrying the load. In reality, the hard conversations are the relationship. They aren't interruptions to intimacy. They are intimacy. They are where trust deepens, where patterns break, where real connections are formed. Avoiding them doesn't keep love alive. It keeps love shallow, and some would say even transactional. So upon reflection, take a minute. If you can't be honest with the person you love, you're already alone. You just haven't named it yet. When truth is spoken with care, it doesn't destroy relationships. Silence does, and it will. You need to be able to speak and share and get momentum in your relationship. Otherwise, it goes stale, it plateaus. So maybe it is time for a conversation that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's time to write that letter. Maybe it's time to stop protecting the relationship from truth and start protecting it with the truth. And I know that's not easy because you've been set up to believe that the truth is scary or talking your truth will create some type of consequence. So if you want some support around learning how to have these conversations, it might be time to reach out to a professional and get some help. Maybe even hit me up if you're not sure. Just remember, say what you need to say. The truth is where intimacy begins. So I'll leave this episode here. Until next time, lovers, this is Between the Sheets with me, Dr. Love.
Thanks for listening to the podcast with Dr. Love. For all show notes and resources mentioned in this episode, head to www.drlove.com. That's DRLURVE.com. Got a question for Dr. Love? Email her at ask@dr.love.com. Love the show? Remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review or share it with your friends. Thanks for listening, lovers. We'll see you on the next episode. This is Between the Sheets with Dr. Love.